Welcome to the One Trail at a Time podcast. I am your host, Boogie. Today is a little bit of a different episode. I am coming to you guys today in the middle of a world crisis, um, a pandemic. Not something that I ever thought I would talk about on a non um, fictional hypothetical type situation. I'm solo today, as you can hear, but I just want to, first of all, check in, let you guys know that I am doing okay. Missouri is one of those states that is still climbing as far as new cases of the COVID virus. I'm gonna throw you guys to these graphics over here, and as you can see in in America, so this website that I am looking at is the John Hopkins University. This website kind of lets you know what's going on from country to country, state to state, city to city, and it really is helpful if you just kind of want to keep up. Um, and it's just really staggering if you just cut this, kill this. I'm sorry. Um, Total cases in the world at this time. Today is March 23rd. For me in Missouri, is day one of the mandatory shelter in place, social distance control effort to, I should say, an effort to control the spread of this disease. And it's weird. I've already been in the house. They kind of let us know the social, okay, so just with the CDC and just coming up from heads of state, just doing the social distance before it became mandatory and everything. Uh, Places had already started. Uh, they had already say if you can work from home, do this, do that, and kind of stay out of the way. Stay out of the way of other people and out of the way of the virus, mostly. And so that started last week. Friday was my last day of actually being physically in the office, and even really being out of the house besides going out to get something out of my car and grabbing some mail or something. Hadn't been out of the house in 3 days now. 3 days. 3 days of being in the house, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. I do have to go to the office for a little bit tomorrow. I'm starting to look all cavemanish. We've been distancing each ourselves from one another for almost 2 weeks now. So this isn't something that is, new. So I hadn't been able to go to the barber shop and I'm looking really rough. But that's the least of my worries. Back to the graphics. There are over almost 400,000 confirmed cases with at least with 16,000 six um 16,508 deaths in the world. I was going to round that up or down, but I think each one of these people deserve to have it being that they are counted not as a round figure. There are over 100,000 people in recovery. The scariest part about when this started was it was like what you see in a apocalypse movie, and it's a case here, a case there, then it starts spreading and no one has any answers. They don't know what it is. And that's the scariest thing. Is like we don't know what it is. We don't know how it's spread. We don't know uh what the incubation period is. We don't know anything. How long does it live on surfaces? We don't know anything. And trying to get all of these answers is the scariest thing. So now you're reading everything you can find. You're listening to whatever you can hear, and you're trying to filter out the real from the fake. And that's the scariest thing because it was changing so rapidly. And that was coming from other countries because it was just growing. They didn't know how to treat it. I mean, worldwide, 16,508 deaths. And that's before this website refreshes. So that number could be 500 more by now. Hopefully not, but just realistically, I mean, is scary. Jumping to where I am. I am in the U.S. I am in Missouri. I had myself already locked in beforehand, and I messed it up. Um, I'm on a low. We're lower. I think we were at 180 something. So Missouri. When I last looked at this, we were 180 something. Now we are at 195 with 4 deaths. Um, one in Boone County, Jackson County, St. Louis City, and St. Louis County. Um, a lot of people may not be familiar with how St. Louis works. Missouri and St. Louis City, uh, back in the 1800s, I believe, the 1800s, maybe the early 1900s or something crazy. Um, the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County separated. So you know how mostly if you're in a city is attached to a county. St. Louis City is kind of like was said Boston or Baltimore, where it's an independent city. St. Louis is an independent city. That is why when you look at statistics, it's so high in whatever they're talking about because it's a very small population being that it's not connected to a county. If we were connected to St. Louis County, St. Louis City would be a blip, literally. But I digress from what we're talking about. But here's me, Missouri. All the little dots. I mean, look when you just zoom out and you get a world view, a world view of this thing, a world view of this thing. Ugh. It's like a zombie movie. It's like one of those things where it's like, oh, this is so horrifying. And I must agree. Now I know last week, well, the last podcast, one of the last podcasts that my nephew and I came out with, we were talking about backpackers, hikers. Where does all of this fit in line? When we made that was recorded over a month ago before this was really even a serious before it was serious over here. It was already serious in China, or at least getting serious in China. We didn't know it was coming to this, and it's heartbreaking to for us to listen back to the conversation to figure out to listen back to that podcast and say, man, we were literally just talking about this. We were literally just talking about this. And our camping skills, his military background, my years of just being out on the trails, I didn't, l- I, s- you could see the weather changing, if you will. All right, that was my approach to looking at it. The clouds were starting to shift, the sky was starting to change when they was talking about what was going on in China, and it was like, nope, I see this coming here. I see it is going to be bad. Anytime they say don't worry, worry. But this isn't one of those podcasts for me really to uh beat up on any leadership or talk about any individuals. It's really just what's going on my first day of pretty much being quarantined to the house, um, or sheltering in place or whatever we want to label it. But I'm just checking in with my YouTube community and my friends that comment to me on a regular basis and let you know that I'm okay. I'm still hanging in there, and I hope to be on the trails soon. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, guys, usually I would say, live life one trail at a time. I guess it still applies here. Just do it carefully. See you.